Cricky hauled herself back onto her feet. The world spun for a moment before settling on the vacated dormitory. Her right antenna was busted, stinging her so much that it felt like she'd been stabbed through the forehead. Gritting her mandibles, she picked up her air gun from beside her comrade's crumpled body and started to move towards the hatch where the thing had fried the controls. "Cricky," Tshirt gurgled with her broken mandible. "Where are you going?" "Where do you think I'm going? I'm going to hunt down that beast." Tshirt winced at the whiff of Cricky's anger scent. "It's impossible. We brought a monster aboard our ship." "No, just something too clever for its own good. Can you stand? Did any of the tranquilizer get you?" Tshirt tried out her limbs and checked her undershell, fortunately unperforated. Her carapace was still plugged with a forest of darts. "I think I'm alright." "Let's get you on your feet," Cricky said. "We need to link up with Commander Gotra." Tshirt groaned from her throat as Cricky hauled her up. Clutching the rail, she kept herself upright, even if her hind limbs continued to wobble. Satisfied, Cricky keyed in her comm. "Commander Gotra, this is Soldier Drone Cricky. Tshirt and I are operational and requesting orders." A surprised chitter answered them. "Cricky? Tshirt? I saw the beast throw one of you down onto the other." "We're on our feet again." Cricky winced when her busted antenna twitched. "Where is it?" "In Module 2. We've rigged a trap for it with damage charges in the mess hall, but it's not taking the bait." "What's the bait?" "The last 4 soldier drones and myself." Cricky added that to another one of the reasons she would beat the flesh bag into a bloody pulp. "It's not going to take the bait," Tshirt interjected. "It's not hunting you. It's trying to escape." "Then we'll have to drive it into the trap," Cricky said. "If you can get to the armory, pick up some chem guns," Gotra said. "Lethal force is authorized." "Cop it. We'll head there first." The 2 bruised and battered soldier drones charged into Module 2 for a hatch the thing hadn't disabled. Module 3 may have been devoid of life, but at least it had been evacuated in an orderly fashion. With how much was upended inside, Module 2 may as well have lost its gravity. Cameras smashed, walls scratched, and nicked by sprays of bullets, half-burned disposable cartridges littering the decks, sprays of sickly green blood and crumpled ship drones all prepared their pheromone glands for fresh fear scent. The soldier drones managed to hold back the instinct and pretend they weren't scared. They made their way down to the armory, passing makeshift barricades that were now ungunned. Just as Cricky was about to turn into the hallway that led to his only entrance, Tshirt hauled her back into cover. A furious hail of bullets flew by from the rapid fire of chem guns. They heard a ship drone key her comm. "Commander Gotra is here! It's here at the armory!" "For shit's sake, stop shooting!" screeched Cricky back, stepping out and spraying piping hot anger scent. "You nearly killed us!" The little red-brown clackens at the armory door lowered their chem guns and iced the deck, visibly quivering with fright. "Sorry, soldier drone." Meanwhile, Gotra was trying to raise both of them on their comms. "Shooter and Gree, report. Cricky, Tshirt, get to the armory." "False alarm, Commander. They were shooting at us," Cricky muttered. The 2 soldier drones stepped past their embarrassed sisters and entered the armory. Only 2 of 3 chem guns remained, and only a single magazine for each. As they kitted themselves, Tshirt let out an exasperated sigh. "We probably launched more to friendly fire than the Ting," she clicked. Cricky gingerly braced her busted antenna with some medical tape. "Never send a ship drone to do our work." "Cricky, Tshirt, come in." Cricky's comm buzzed with Gotra's voice. "Yes, Commander?" "Heat sensors went off by hatch 126. There's no camera, but we think the target's trying to cut through there. Fire at it, get its attention, and drive it towards us in the mess hall." Tshirt and Cricky looked at each other, black eyes showing a determined gleam. "We're on it, Commander." They made their way up blood-spattered stairwells and down silent corridors to the hatch. The heat sensors weren't lying. They stopped just around the corner from the hissing and sparking of a laser cutter. Cricky peeked to see the thing, arms stretched over his eyes, cutting blindly at the hatch. But the blackened surface, with its ablative coating designed to resist hand cutters just like this one, was hardly even scratched. The thing paused, lowering its arm and raising its head. Its hand grabbed the chem gun it had left on the deck. Cricky darted back behind the corner just in time for the thing to turn around, listening hard for anyone intruding on its work. Cricky's heart pounded so loud she thought it must have heard it. But instead she heard the laser cutter hiss again. With it distracted trying to cut into this hatch, she wouldn't need to lead it into some stupid trap. She could shoot it dead here and now. She raised her chem gun and peeked around the corner again. The laser cutter was sitting on the deck, trigger held in place by some adhesive tape. The thing was missing, and so was its chem gun. "Cricky, what is it?" Tshirt chittered quietly. "It's gone," Cricky clipped back. A pungent odour filled the air. Cricky refused to let the scent grip her mind. In a frenzy she tried to work out where it could have gone, The hallway branched left and right to the hatch, so it could have gone either direction. She knew the one on the right kept going straight for a while, then went down a stair. The left also continued in its direction, but had a left turn, and then another, which led to just behind... She wheeled around just in time and fired at the shadow of a biped that emerged from the corner behind them. The shadow retreated, its source obviously uninjured, but taking cover. "Move!" She hauled Treat into cover of their own. A similar burst of lead from the thing lashed back at them, almost catching them when it ricocheted off the walls in this point-blank engagement. "Alright, we got his attention. What now?" Treat asked. "Fall back to the mess." Creaky fired one more time around the corner, and the two fled as fast as they could. Behind them they could hear heavy footsteps pounding the deck, and the chem gun tearing the air with a rat-a-tat-tat. Creaky paused only to fire back, hoping she could keep it pissed off enough, long enough to lead it into the mess. They flew down 2 flights of stairs, hearing chem guns rattle above them. They stopped and caught their breath, listening to the firefight crack like a not-so-distant thunderstorm. "What's going on?" Creaky asked from their comm. "Good work, you two," their battle sister Riek exclaimed. "We've finally got behind it. Just keep leading it towards the mess." They did as asked, firing on the thing when they could, and sometimes hanging out a little too long in its line of fire. Down another flight of stairs and past a small labyrinth of twisting and merging corridors, they darted into the mess hall, the footsteps pounding not far behind them. There they found their commander sitting at the center table with a full plate of armored demolition charges set before her, the detonator in her forklaw. "What are you doing here?" Gotcha screeched. "Get out or you'll be blown to pieces." "It's right behind us," Creaky replied. "Then duck in the kitchen and take cover." Never were they happier to obey an order. They leapt through the door and jumped under whatever looked sturdiest. A table with a thick metal top would have to suffice. They heard one last screech from Gotra through the closed kitchen door. "You lose!" The blast wave blew them out from underneath their table, flying backwards into the wall. Creaky's ear holes wouldn't stop ringing. The smoky kitchen was shredded by flying knives and tools. She felt herself at any wounds and breathed a sigh of relief after she found none, save for a small knife that had lodged itself in her chitin. She didn't bother removing it. She staggered over to Treat to make sure no shrapnel had injured her, and then stumbled out of the kitchen. The mess hall was on fire. She saw the green warning lights flash, but couldn't hear the siren. The automatic fire suppression system had been claimed in the explosion. Not a trace of Gotra or the thing was left. She went back into the kitchen, where Treat had gotten herself up, and the two wandered their way through the choking smoke, hacking and coughing. At last they reached the hallway outside, and some air they could breathe. Their hearing came back enough to make out one word in 3, despite the throbbing pain. The voice boomed from Creaky's comm. "Soldier drones, report! Is the target eliminated?" the ship queen demanded. They looked around, but couldn't find a body outside the mess either. It began to look like the thing had well and truly been eliminated. "Creaky, look at this." Treat tugged at her comrade. She gestured at some strange red liquid sprayed out onto the deck. Creaky bent down and wiped her claw in it, inspecting it closely. It was wet and viscous. Her eyes followed the pattern across the deck. It continued to drip all the way around the corner. "No, Your Majesty. The target is wounded, but alive," Creaky reported with a sigh. Instantly, Creaky was dunked into blue emergency lighting from the green that had been flashing before. A chilling announcement followed the siren. "Atmosphere vent in progress," reported a hesitant ship drone from the intercom. Ship Queen Crocaki watched eagerly as Module 2's oxygen level fell on her screen. The 3 or 4 video feeds that remained made fierce cries from her ship drone attendant. Panic had struck everyone on screen, fleeing aft in the vain hope that the Ship Queen wouldn't vent Module 3's atmosphere too. The little ship drones were the first to fall. But Crocaki didn't care for their panic or their losses. She had hatched all these drones before, it wouldn't be hard to hatch more. Not long after she watched 2 wounded soldier drones pass through the hatch into Module 3, the beast jogged up to the same camera and stopped to catch its breath in the thinning atmosphere. It was the first time she had seen it in full view since it had begun its rampage. It had tied a piece of reddened fabric around his chest and another on his left forelimb. Its 2 milky eyes with predatory grey pupils pierced right through the camera lens. Crocaki shivered. Those eyes could see her. She was sure of it. Her fear then polluted her quarters with a noxious cloud. The beast pulled out his chem gun and shot out the camera. Crocaki released her tense breath. Her bulging thorax shuddered into his pillows. "Vent Module 3, she ordered. The ship drone obeyed. The alarms went off automatically there too. It was one of the few safeties she had actually invested in when she bought her ship. Back then, when she thought remote detonators and shock collars were a frivolous expense. Tree never wanted so badly to get into Module 4, but here she was, pounding on the hatch, begging the operator behind the little camera above it to spare her life. She knew it was futile. Soldier drones weren't the only ones who followed the ship's queen's orders. She may as well lay down and let the lack of oxygen lull her to an endless sleep. but she couldn't suppress her fundamental instincts anymore. Her body wanted to live. So she continued to pound, failing to hear the thing enter Module 3 until she heard the chem guns crack all around her. The thing ducked into a doorway to a room full of shit drones' cocoons, but didn't fire back. The gunfire from her comrades petered out, but every sight was trained onto the thing's only exit. Cricky dropped her empty magazine on the floor, and took one that Gree offered her. Out from the side of the open doorway, draped a white cloth and an unseen pole. Cricky filled it with holes. The white cloth briefly retreated. Then the thing extended it out and wiggled it around, furiously trying to get them to do something. Confused by this strange behaviour, the soldier drones lowered their guns, though not too low. Tree felt her lungs starting to burn. The cloth disappeared, replaced by the thing's hand, waving its laser cutter at them. "Hold your fire," Tree told her comrades. "If we just let it, it will cut the hatch to Module 4 open for us." "Let's just kill it," Cricky said, a peppery scent rising from her undershell. "Then the ship queen will stop venting the atmosphere." "There's only 6 of us left," Treat explained quickly. "It took down 10 soldiers and dozens of ship drones. We can't win against it." "So you betray the ship? How that brute escape death?" Cricky twisted her mandibles in disgust. Treat begged them. "Don't you want to live?" A comrade stared blankly at her. "You sound like a pathetic little ship drone, Treat," Cricky grunted. She ripped the chem gun from Treat's claws and turned to the rest. "On me! Let's bring the ship queen her prize." The soldiers exchanged one forlorn glance at each other, but the habits and lessons of a lifetime are hard to break. They followed Cricky as she climbed down and stalked towards the open doorway. Cricky rushed from cover to cover, a short chain of soldier drones copying her every move. When she reached the side of the door, she posted up and waited for them to assemble behind her. On her mark, they breached the room. The firefight lasted only a few seconds. After that, only silence and darkness poured forth from the room. Out from the doorway appeared a flat, fleshy-lipped face. It spotted Treat and pointed its gun immediately at her, but she stepped backwards in surrender. The thing looked around the rest of the empty dormitory. Satisfied it was clear, it stepped out and climbed the stairs up towards Treat. Those eyes didn't look quite so predatory anymore. In fact, there was something familiar in them, especially when they regarded the few dozen darts still stuck in Treat's carapace. Yes, I'm the shamed one you hogtied and threw off a catwalk. Can you hurry up and cut this?" Treat motioned to the hatch. The thing pulled out his laser cutter and went to work. Treat briefly thought about pulling that chem gun out of his hands, putting a bullet for his chest, but she was feeling a little too light-headed and weak in the knee for that. Besides, she was a traitor now, even if she did kill the thing. The ship queen didn't tolerate soldier drones that pick and choose the orders they followed. The thing cut the hatch open just as Treat's eyelids were starting to weigh down with sleepiness. It nearly dug through immediately, but it turned and looked back at her, rocking and reeling on her feet. It grabbed her and chucked her through into fresh, breathable air. Instantly she was wide awake. The thing climbed through and took its own deep breath. It bared its teeth again at her, but she realized that the gesture didn't mean it was angry. Instead, it seemed just as relieved as her. Until the lights in Module 4 also began to flash blue. "Come on, we have to keep going," she told it, gesturing madly aft. The thing nodded its head and they took off. Even if she wasn't wounded, she would find it hard to keep up with a creature whose stride was at least twice as long as her. It scooped her up again and charged onwards. Wait! She chittered. In all the commotion, she had almost forgotten about Creek and the rest of her own team. She needed to get them out too. Let me down! We need to save my French!" It didn't notice her clicks. She revised her new opinion of the thing. It was sort of stupid brute. She pinched it on the arm and it dropped her with a small yelp. It looked at her and roared, but she gestured frantically up the nearby stairwell. It nodded and followed her, overtook her, and eventually picked her up on the way up to the level she indicated. They made it to where the thing had incapacitated Ricky, Pross and Gok, along with Creek, who still seemed unconscious. Fortunately, all of them were still breathing. The thing looked at her curiously. "We have to get them out of this module. They'll die if we leave them here," she exclaimed. She tried her best at pantomiming what she wanted the thing to do, picking up her friend by the hind legs and dragging Creek a little bit across the floor. The thing shook its head, its brow furrowed upwards in the middle. It refused to move those meaty limbs to help her friends. "Come on, damn it! It's the least you could do for them. For me." The thing placed a gentle hand on her carapace. Then it kept walking past her, further aft. Treat turned. "Wait! Come back! Don't you walk away!" But it didn't care for her screeching. She would just have to pull her friends to safety herself. She started dragging Creek. A hiss caught her attention. She looked to see a little ship drone peeking around the corner from the stairwell. "Give me some help here, ship drone," Treat called. "We've got to get them out of here." With her eyes fixed on the departing thing over Treat's shoulder, the red-bound worker skittered over to her. Together they started hauling Creek and Ricky down the hall after the thing. "How did you befriend it?" "Well, I'm friends right now with anyone who still wants to live," Treat huffed. "I thought soldier drones—" "Shut up and pull, ship drone," Treat gritted. "My name's Dro, not ship drone," grumbled the ship drone. And I thought ship drones were supposed to know their place, Treat shot back. Dro bit her mandibles, flustered. They heard footsteps approaching. Treat dropped Krieg and turned around. The thing had come back with a rolling cart. Why didn't I think of that? Treat wondered. It shooed Treat away from her fallen friend and placed the incapacitated Klakan onto the cart. Then it went and grabbed Ricky and laid her beside Krieg. Treat and Dro helped it, as little as they could, to lift Ross and Gok, and gently lay them on top of Krieg and Ricky's carapaces. With their forelegs on the load to steady it, they guided the thing, pushing the cart through hatch 458. It cut that one open, and the next, and the next. They outran blue alarm after blue alarm until they cut into Module 7. There, in front of them, stood a half-dozen ship drones, looking up from their engineering consoles, and blinking at the towering biped, and the second wounded soldier drones on a pushcart. Treat grabbed the thing's chem gun. Before it could snatch it back, she pointed it at the ship drone at the central computer. She whipped the muzzle for it to back away from its station. It slowly complied, leaving her a clear shot of the controls to the subspace drive, keeping their ship from hitting normal space at several times the speed of light. Your Majesty, she called up to the cameras, watching closely. We're holding the ship hostage. You try to vent this Module 2, and I shoot the controls out for the drive. Have fun getting atomized. The cameras didn't reply. Instead, she heard the computer buzz, the activity levels on the screens plummet, and a distant rumble fade. The bridge still held remote control over the subspace drive, and now it had just dropped them back into normal space. The Queen clicked her amusement over the intercom. Go ahead! I've already sent out the distress call.